let's make some baklava. Alright, so this baklava I am using both pistachios and some walnuts. People can do it just pistachios or just walnuts or combined. We're doing it combined today, but we're going to start off with the syrup and the glaze because we want that to cool down and stay at room temperature for quite a while before we use it. So in my pan already I have 1.5 cups of sugar. I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of cold water. I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of honey, and we're going to add a nice chunk of orange peel in there as well. So I'm going to put this onto the heat at medium until it's all nice, melted, bubbly, and the color just looks nice and pretty. Alright, so I got this on a medium heat. I'm so sorry about the lighting. The sun is popping in and out of the clouds. But we want to give this a stir. You don't need to worry about it too much right now. But once it comes to temperature and the sugars dissolve, that's when you want to constantly stir it. I'm just stirring it now just to get it all combined. And then I'll just let it sit until it comes up to temperature. Alright, so as you can see, little bits of bubbles are forming in the middle here. There we go. And the sugars are pretty much dissolved now. So at this stage, you definitely want to just constantly moving it and stirring it. Alright, so now as you can see, the color is much more golden brown and lovely. So I'm gonna say this is done. It took, I feel like, I didn't actually time it, but I feel like it was more to 10 minutes. Because the pan's nice and hot, you want to keep it in the pan to cool down with the pan cooling down at the same time. If you were to transfer it, then all of your syrup is just going to harden up and crystallize and go all gross. So just keep it together, and yeah, we'll just let it sit there until we need it, which will be in a couple of hours time. Well, about an hour and a half's time. Alright, now to blend the nuts. I'm going to start with the pistachios. I got about 1 cup worth of pistachios and about 2 cups of walnuts, maybe closer to 2.5. If you have an electric food processor, I said that's so weird. If you have an electric, oh my goodness, if you have an electric processor, that is great. I don't. I have this little pull string one, so I'm going to use that. Otherwise, you can just have it in a bag and beat it up with like a rolling pin or something. But I'm going to use this. So, alright, that should be okay. So most of it is fine. As you can see, there is still some slight bigger chunks. That is perfectly fine. Now we're going to add in about 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And you just want to mix this all together so it's nice and combined. So I'm going to set that off to one side. I also got about 1/2 cup of butter that I've melted. I'm just going to give it another mix. So that is fine. You want the butter melted, but you don't want it hot. So that is perfectly ready to go. And now we want to work with the phyllo pastry. I am doing store-bought phyllo pastry. You can obviously make your pastry from scratch, but you won't be seeing how to do that today. Well, not from this video at least. So this is the pan I'm going to be using. It's just a slice sheet. Oh, it's got the measurements. So it's 27.5 by 17.5 by 3.5 centimeters. Alright, so the laying process. We're going to very well brush our butter all on the bottom, the corners, and the sides of the pan. We buttered the pan. I just put the oven on now to get it preheated at 175 degrees Celsius. And taking one of these sheets, they're sticking for some reason for me. But I'm just going to kind of fold it into thirds anyway. So now we got one piece of sheet down, but it's kind of like into thirds. I'm just going to gently do a thin layer of butter. Another sheet. I might just do it along like this. Oh no, halves. We're folding it in halves, not thirds. I feel like the sides on this is going to be ugly. I wish my pan was the slightest bit wider. I mean, I could just cut these sheets down, but I'm just too lazy if I'm being honest. So, brushing again with a bit more butter. You pretty much want to brush butter every second sheet, but because I'm folding mine in half, I'm just doing it every sheet because you got that 2 layers of pastry between the butter. Alright, and we go another sheet. So this will give us 6 layers of pastry. So I'm just gently pushing this down. This laying process is definitely going to be quite tedious. But it'll be worth it. I'm actually so excited for this. It's definitely going to be worth it. Right, and now with our mix, we want to take about 1/3 of our nut mixture and just sprinkle it on top. Now quite gently even it out. So now we want 2 layers of pastry and then more nuts. 2 layers of pastry, more nuts, 2 layers of pastry, and just keep working like that. Alright, so it's been sitting out for about 5 minutes, more closer to 10 minutes. Now I want to cut this. So traditionally it's like a diamond shape. I think if I go across and then I'm just trying to map it out. I think that'll be right. So I'm going to cut it in 4th lengthways. Right down to the bottom. And now if I rotate the pan, right, we'll just do this and we'll see what happens. Alright, so that was pretty messy, but you get the idea of the shapes. Now these are going to go into the oven. It's been preheated, it's 175 degrees Celsius, and it's going to go in for about an hour. One thing to keep note is the color of the top, because you obviously want it nice and golden. The bottom is going to be 1 to 2 shades darker, so keep that in mind. But for now, these are going into the oven. So it's just came out of the oven. It's nice and golden, but remember the bottom is going to be darker. And it was in for exactly 1 hour. Syrup is cooled and just nice and thick. So instantly going to drizzle it all on. Oh, and I also wanted to notice and point out these sides have pulled away, so that's perfect. Oh, you can hear it sizzling. That's the syrup sizzling. That's so cool. Alright, want to keep on pouring all of this syrup on. Alright, so now we got every single piece nice and glazed. And now what's going to happen is that the nut filling and the pastry is just going to absorb and soak it all up and soak it all in. It is definitely going to still be sticky, but now we're just going to leave it to cool completely. So I'll be back in probably about 4 hours for a taste test. Alright, so it's now like, I don't even know what the time is, probably 11 o'clock at night. And we got baklava to try. So Nick had a little piece. I may have had a little piece, but it was only like after an hour. It was still quite hard, so I'm hoping now it'll be nice and soft. So that is what it looks like. It's definitely thick with the, it's so sticky, but baklava is sticky. Oh, and the bottom as well. It wasn't as dark as I thought it would get. It's definitely as darker than the top. So I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that. So let's try. Oh wow. It's so much softer. I'm actually not hungry at all. It's so good. I'm so happy with that. It is so good. It's very sweet. I would finish it, but I ate way too much Chinese takeout tonight. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe down below so you can see my future videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!